Imagine opening the pantry, grabbing a bag of health and wellness mix, absent-mindedly munching on a few nuts, convinced you're making the right choice, and instead introducing substances into your body that can silently promote inflammation, alter cholesterol, or weigh down organs that have already been put to the test by time. This isn't just gratuitous alarmism. Research tells us that about 7 out of 10 over 60s consume potentially unfavorable varieties of nuts or seeds every day, often labeled as keto-friendly, rich in good fats, or even heart-friendly. The paradox? Many of these seemingly harmless references can amplify joint pain, disrupt memory, affect blood pressure, or interfere with medications. Some even hide compounds linked to liver and brain toxicity. Yet they end up in shopping carts, appetizer bowls, and low-carb meal plans. In this video, you will discover the 4 most problematic varieties for those who have passed the 6th decade, highlighting the mechanisms with which they silently damage the body. However, we will not limit ourselves to the bad news. We will then review 4 true allies of health, capable of protecting bones, brain, metabolism, and heart, provided they are consumed in the right ways and quantities. Stay with me until the end. The number 1 on the blacklist contains a molecule that almost no one talks about, but which could affect the liver, kidneys, and cognitive functions without obvious symptoms. Ready to tidy up your pantry? The 4 nuts to limit, or avoid, after 60. 4. Peanuts. The inflammation trigger you don't expect. Peanuts show up in snack packs, get tossed into breakfast granola, and are a staple in trail mixes across the country. Yet they aren't nuts at all. They belong to the legume family and ripen underground, an ideal environment for microscopic fungi to grow, producing aflatoxins. These natural toxins, classified as potential liver carcinogens, become even more risky as we age because our detoxification system becomes less efficient. But it doesn't stop there. Peanuts contain proteins that can trigger low-grade inflammatory responses, even in the absence of a full-blown allergy. If you suffer from arthritis, heart disease, or cognitive decline, that underlying inflammation can worsen pain and reduce mental clarity. To complicate the situation, there is an excess of omega-6. A single handful of peanuts unbalances the ratio with omega-3, already lacking in Western diets, fueling the inflammatory fire. And if you take warfarin-based anticoagulants, be aware that the vitamin K present in the seeds could interfere with the therapy. Peanut butter. It often contains hydrogenated oils, added sugars, and high doses of sodium, a cocktail that threatens arteries and blood pressure, especially if you are over 60 and already have to deal with hypertension, which, data in hand, affects about 2/3 of the elderly. Finally, industrial roasting generates acrylamide, a substance suspected of promoting neurodegenerative processes. Life-saving strategy: replace peanuts with almonds or walnuts, which are rich in anti-inflammatory fats and safer for your liver and brain. 3. Cashews. The hidden threat to blood sugar and bones. Soft, creamy, irresistible. Cashews easily earn their reputation as a healthy snack. But unlike most nuts, they pack a whopping 9 grams of carbs per ounce, 28 GRI, and have a higher glycemic load. When you consider that nearly half of people over 60 have prediabetes and another 25% live with diagnosed diabetes, cashews can trigger dangerous blood sugar swings. The problem is amplified because their curved shape and delicate flavor invite compulsive consumption. Not only that, cashews contain oxalates, substances that bind to calcium in the intestine, reducing its absorption. For those with fragile bones or a tendency to osteoporosis, this is a theft of a precious mineral. The same oxalates increase the risk of kidney stones, a phenomenon that grows exponentially after the age of 60. And there is a dark side that is still little known. In their raw state, cashews contain urushiol, the same irritant found in poison ivy. The processing phase inactivates it, but high-temperature treatments deteriorate the beneficial fatty acids, reducing their nutritional value. On the market, then, there are plenty of oil-roasted and salted cashews, declared enemies of blood pressure and the cardiovascular system. Their enzymatic inhibitions can also hinder protein digestion, a crucial aspect for an organism that struggles to use proteins as it ages. Practical tip: if you love the velvety texture of cashews, try reducing their frequency and introducing walnuts or almonds. They offer more fiber, less sugar, and a protective lipid profile. 2. Macadamia nuts. A calorie bomb disguised as luxury. Crunchy, buttery, for connoisseurs. Macadamias seduce the palate, but they can sabotage your ideal weight, cholesterol, and even dental health. With about 200 calories per ounce, they are the most caloric nuts of all. At an age when the metabolism slows down significantly, this surplus of energy becomes difficult to dispose of and often translates into extra pounds. It's not just about calories. Macadamias contain about 22 grams of fat per serving, of which 3 grams are saturated, a load that can strain the gallbladder, already less efficient with age, and trigger painful attacks in those who have silent gallstones. 1 in 7 over 65s suffers from them without knowing it. Those same fractions of saturated fat contribute to raising LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, increasing risks for the heart and arteries. The characteristic hardness also jeopardizes fillings, bridges, and dental implants, which are often more delicate in senior patients. From a practical point of view, macadamias are also a burden on the wallet. To cut costs, many people buy batches that are of poor quality or close to the end of their shelf life, which are more exposed to rancidity. Oxidized fatty acids generate free radicals, accelerating cellular aging. It should be noted that most studies linking nut consumption to heart health exclude macadamias because of their unusual lipid profile. If their rich flavor appeals to you, consider pistachios, which offer crunch and saltiness with a better balance of nutrients. 1. Pine nuts. Small, expensive, and potentially disruptive. They seem harmless, perfect for enriching salads, pestos, and gourmet dishes, but pine nuts dominate the blacklist for a specific reason. They interact with over 60% of the drugs most used by the over 60s, from beta blockers to statins to antidepressants. The result? Reduced therapeutic effect or the appearance of adverse reactions not always attributable to the food. That's not all. A phenomenon called pine mouth syndrome causes some people to have a lingering metallic aftertaste that can last days, even weeks, and lead to loss of appetite and wasting. One study reported that 42% of those affected lost weight involuntarily, a risk factor if you're already struggling to maintain muscle mass. From a lipid point of view, pine nuts are loaded with highly unstable polyunsaturated fats. When they oxidize, they produce pro-inflammatory substances that aggravate rheumatism, cardiovascular disorders, and chronic diseases. Their tiny and slippery format also represents a choking hazard for those who suffer from dysphagia or dry mouth, a common condition among those who take multiple medications. Finally, they contain enzyme inhibitors that hinder the digestion of proteins, precisely at the time of life when digestive efficiency collapses. The bad news doesn't end there. Emerging research links some batches of Asian pine nuts to accelerated macular degeneration, the leading cause of vision loss in older adults. So, if you love traditional pesto, Consider swapping out the pine nuts for pumpkin seeds or flaked almonds. You'll get crunch without compromising your health. The 4 nuts that deserve a place of honor after the age of 60. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Not all nuts are a problem, on the contrary. Some behave like real, natural supplements, capable of strengthening bones, brain, circulation, and even thyroid. Let's find out which ones. 4. Almonds. Allies of bones, heart, and intestinal regularity. Every year of life, from the age of 60 onwards, is a challenge for the skeleton, which loses density and becomes more porous. Well, a simple snack of almonds can be surprisingly useful. A quarter cup, about 35 g, provides almost 100 mg of calcium, in addition to significant doses of magnesium, a mineral that promotes the incorporation of calcium into the bones and not into the arteries. Almonds also stand out for their vitamin E, an antioxidant that protects cell membranes, and for their monounsaturated fats that can reduce LDL. Their fiber content, 3.5 g per serving, combats constipation, a disorder that affects 40% of elderly people. Studies conducted at Tufts University have observed how the antioxidants in almonds, concentrated especially in the brown skin, defend neurons from oxidative stress, slowing cognitive decline. Ideal dose: 15-20 almonds per day, preferably unsalted and whole with the skin. Chew them slowly. Their consistency can be an obstacle if you have problems swallowing, but chewing slowly reduces the risk of blockages and improves the assimilation of nutrients. 3. Walnuts. Excellent brain nourishment. Nature communicates with shapes. The walnut resembles a brain, and in fact nourishes the encephalon like few other food sources. It boasts the highest content of alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, among common walnuts, a plant-based omega-3 essential for the integrity of neuronal membranes. In a study published in the Journal of Nutrition, consuming 42 grams of walnuts daily for 8 weeks improved processing speed and mental flexibility in older adults. Walnuts contain polyphenols that can cross the blood-brain barrier and calm inflammation in the brain, potentially slowing the progression of Alzheimer's and dementia. The presence of natural melatonin is intriguing. A few walnuts at dinner can regulate the sleep-wake rhythm, often disrupted with age. Thanks to the amino acid arginine, they support vascular dilation and cooperate with hypotensive drugs. 7 to 9 half kernels a day are enough. Store them in the refrigerator. The delicate oils go rancid easily. 2. Pistachios. Pressure regulators with a playful spirit. Cracking open one pistachio after another is a small, playful gesture that hides great benefits. With about 285 mg of potassium per ounce and very little sodium, pistachios are a true natural diuretic. They promote the expulsion of excess sodium, helping to reduce systolic pressure by 3 to 5 mmol, values comparable to those of some first-line drugs. Not just heart. Their bright green contains lutein and zeaxanthin, carotenoids essential for the macula of the eye. Regular consumption can slow down macular degeneration. Thanks to a consistency that is neither too hard nor too soft, pistachios encourage chewing without threatening teeth and dentures. Curious positive side effect. The empty shell remains visible and acts as a calorie pedometer, reducing energy intake by more than 20%, according to the International Journal of Obesity. If arthritis limits your hand strength, choose the partially open variant, which is just as fun but less tiring. Recommended serving: 49 pistachios per day, preferably unsalted. They provide 3 g of fiber, useful for stabilizing blood sugar levels in a phase of life in which sugar spikes are particularly harmful. 1. Brazil nuts, a superfood for the thyroid, but use carefully. Last but not least, just 1 or 2 Brazil nuts a day will provide 100% or more of your selenium needs, a key mineral for converting the thyroid hormone T4 into T3. Until middle age, 1 in 5 adults experiences thyroid dysfunction, often subclinical, with symptoms such as fatigue, depressed mood, sensitivity to the cold, and a sluggish metabolism. Supplementing selenium with nuts is more bioavailable than taking it in pill form, which translates into more stable energy and better mood. The unique fatty acids in Brazil nuts protect the myelin sheath of nerves, promoting rapid reaction times and motor coordination. Rich in fiber and softening oils, they facilitate intestinal transit against chronic constipation. But be careful. Too much selenium can become toxic, causing fatigue, hair loss, and neurological disorders. So limit your serving to 1 to 2 fruits per day. If possible, buy nuts still in their shells and store them in the refrigerator. This will preserve their sensitive oils. Preliminary research suggests that antioxidant compounds in Brazil nuts protect telomeres, the DNA caps that shorten with age, potentially slowing biological aging. All the more reason to include them, in moderation, in your routine. Practical mini guide: How to transform theory into daily habits. Making smart choices starts at the supermarket, not in the kitchen. Before you put a bag of nuts in your cart, ask yourself, is it dry roasted or roasted in oil? Does it contain flavorings or preservatives? Does it have a mark of origin, or is it an anonymous mix? An analysis conducted by Wageningen University on 312 European batches found that anonymous packages, without a clear indication of origin, presented a risk of contamination from aflatoxins 3 times higher than traced batches. It is worth spending a few cents more to sleep soundly. When possible, choose transparent packaging. Visual contact helps to spot broken kernels, visible mold, or signs of rancidity, which manifest themselves as dark spots or opaque patinas. The conservation. Mono and polyunsaturated oils, much praised for their heart-healthy properties, are also extremely delicate. Prolonged exposure to light and heat triggers peroxidation reactions that generate inflammatory aldehydes. The solution? Transfer the nuts to amber glass jars with an airtight seal and store them in the refrigerator at 4 degrees in the summer. If you live in a hot area, consider even the freezer. Studies by the Instituto de Ciencia y Tecnología de Alimentos in Valencia show that refrigerated walnuts and almonds maintain 84% of their tocopherol content intact for 6 months, compared to 39% at room temperature. Turn a snack into a balanced micromeal. Eating nuts alone is convenient, but the glycemic and caloric impact can skyrocket. Combine them with foods rich in water or insoluble fiber. A crunchy apple cut into wedges, celery sticks, or cucumber cubes. Fiber and water slow gastric emptying, prolong satiety, and moderate the total caloric load. For yogurt lovers, a spoonful of flaked almonds adds good fats that enhance the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, naturally present in fermented milk. Defeat hidden salt and sugar in disguise. Many packages carry misleading labels like lightly salted or honey infused, translated up to 400 milligrams of sodium and 6 to 8 grams of added sugar per serving. A simple trick: if salt is among the first 3 ingredients, put the package away. Opt for raw or dry roasted nuts. And if you really want a touch of flavor, add a pinch of smoked paprika or dried rosemary at home. 0 extra sodium, 1,000 aromatic nuances. Dentures, bridges, implants? Here are the friendly textures. Don't let dentures or sensitive teeth hold you back. Soak nuts in warm water for 4 hours or overnight for soft, digestible, bite-proof kernels. Soaking activates endogenous phytases that reduce phytic acid, improving the bioavailability of zinc and iron, two minerals often lacking in those over 60. Alternatively, blend nuts with a date and a tablespoon of whole oats to make an energy paste that can be broken into small, easy-to-chew balls. The Notebook of Personal Reactions. We are unique. What is a panacea for one can cause bloating or headaches for another. Keep a diary for 3 weeks. Write down what type of dried fruit you consume, in what quantity, how to cook it, and how far away from main meals. Note gastrointestinal symptoms, changes in energy, sleep quality, or blood pressure. At the end, you will identify useful patterns to personalize your green list and your red list. Dormant allergies and reduced tolerances. Age changes the immune system. Latent sensitivities can manifest suddenly. If you experience oral itching, tingling lips, or mild hives after a nut mix, stop and reintroduce the varieties one at a time, 72 hours apart. When in doubt, ask your doctor for a specific IgE test. Better to know today than run to the emergency room tomorrow. Bone Friend dose for those who don't exercise much. Sedentary lifestyle and sarcopenia often go hand in hand. Supplementing 15 grams of high biological value protein with 30% leucine within an hour of physical activity stimulates muscle synthesis. A post-walk smoothie made with soy milk, banana, and 2 tablespoons of natural almond butter covers half that need. Even a little resistance training with elastic bands, combined with good fats, promotes the deposition of calcium in the skeleton, reducing the risk of fractures by 12% according to research by the American Geriatric Society. Quick ideas to vary without getting bored. Green mint pesto. Replace half the traditional pine nuts with dry roasted pistachios. Add mint leaves and lemon zest for a fresh, low-oxalate dressing. Anti-inflammatory granola. Oat flakes, turmeric, cinnamon, and a sprinkle of chopped nuts, baked at 150 degrees for 20 minutes. Get breakfast, topping for yogurt, or hiking snack. Walnut umami sauce. Blend walnuts, rehydrated dried tomatoes, a teaspoon of miso, and enough water. Spread on wholemeal croutons for an aperitif rich in probiotics and omega-3. Espresso almond milk. 1 tablespoon of almond butter in 250 milliliters of warm water. Plus immersion blender for 30 seconds. 0 thickeners, 0 carrageenan. All the flavor. Smart brownie. Blended black bean base, cocoa, date puree, and chopped Brazil nuts. Cooked for 15 minutes at 180 degrees. Protein, fiber, and selenium in a dessert that doesn't send your blood sugar levels on a roller coaster. Dried fruit and hydration. The combination you don't expect. Each gram of soluble fiber absorbs water and forms a gel that slows the absorption of carbohydrates. Without sufficient liquids, however, it can cause constipation. Always combine a glass of water or a warm herbal tea with your portion of nuts. This will facilitate intestinal transit and promote the expansion of the fibers, maximizing satiety with few calories. Be careful with the timing of your medications. If you take statins at night, move Brazil nut consumption to breakfast. Selenium may modulate liver enzymes involved in the metabolism of the drug, altering its effectiveness if ingested at the same time. Ditto for pistachios. Eating them at least 2 hours away from potassium-sparing diuretics avoids unwanted hyperkalemia. Reduce environmental impact. Multiply taste. Walnuts are among the crops that consume the most fresh water, but choosing certified rain-fed suppliers or from regions with drip irrigation reduces the water footprint by up to 40%. A small gesture for the planet that often translates into products of superior quality. Less water stress means smaller fruits, but more concentrated in micronutrients. The power of good fat on the emotional mind. A Harvard University study found that a diet rich in monounsaturated fatty acids, like those found in almonds and pistachios, correlated with a 17% lower incidence of depression in people over 65. The authors hypothesized that these lipids modulate the fluidity of neuronal membranes, facilitating the response to neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine. Every handful, therefore, is also a small investment in good mood. We took a journey through shelves, nutritional pitfalls, and precious gems, discovering that 1. Peanuts, cashews, macadamias, and pine nuts harbor unique risks, from toxins to blood sugar, LDL, and drug interactions that silently worsen common conditions among those over 60. 2. Almonds, walnuts, pistachios, and Brazil nuts offer an arsenal of minerals, fiber, antioxidants, and good fats that support bones, brain, vision, blood pressure, and thyroid, provided they are managed with awareness. The lesson? It's not enough to put a handful of dried fruit in your pocket and feel safe. You need to choose, dose, observe. Know how to read the labels: oil roasted, salt, sugar. Keep the products cool to avoid rancidity, alternate the varieties, and, above all, pay attention to the quantities. Remember that a snack can be a natural medicine or a hidden saboteur. If you are over 60 or care for someone who is, start reorganizing your pantry today. Separate the red nuts to limit, favor the green nuts, friends of healthy aging, and note any changes in energy, digestion, sleep, and clarity. You may discover unexpected improvements in a few weeks. Your turn. Share your experience. Have you ever noticed a difference in your mood, digestion, or sleep quality after introducing or eliminating certain seeds? Was there a point in the video that surprised you? Let us know in the comments. Your experiences will enrich the conversation and help someone else make more informed choices. If you found this guide helpful, share it with friends, family, or colleagues. It could improve the quality of life of someone you love. And to make sure you don't miss out on more practical, science-based tips for active aging, subscribe to our channel, and we'll explore concrete strategies to keep your body and mind in tip-top shape year after year. Keep taking care of yourself. Nourish your brain, protect your heart, respect your bones. And remember that when it comes to health, details, even small ones like a pine nut or an almond, make a huge difference on the path to a vibrant and radiant middle age.